Okay, welcome everyone to the weekly Zoom call for the nutrition and health optimization, where we are expanding our consciousness and awareness through raising our vibration and frequency through nutrition and emotional transmutation. And I appreciate you all being here today. We're just going to discuss each other's experiences and go over some things to help support each other through everyone's process. So anyone want to begin to talking about what their experience has been so far? Or any questions you want to come up with? All right.
You want me to start? I can start.
That would be great, Kristen.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know I came to you in a scare, just a health scare, like serious health scare. And we went through a lot of testing of what I was taking.
Right.
And what I shouldn't be taking.
You had a lot of supplements you were taking.
Yeah.
In addition to everything else in the foods and things that you were
right. And it was affecting my mood. I mean, cutting out the caffeine, was making me a little psychotic. And also my thyroid. What supplements would be good for my thyroid, because I didn't want to start taking thyroid medication my whole life.
Right. So yeah, we tested everything for you. There were a lot of supplements. I was in the same position where I was taking a lot of supplements, spending a lot of money, and really didn't know what was good for my body, what was really working. And a very similar situation that you were in, where you came to me with a lot of different things that you felt what your body needed. We ran through the test and eliminated quite a few of them, because our body can only work on a certain amount of things at one time. So, so we eliminated some of that, saved a lot of money and energy. And as well, we're able to energetically test what was going to be super supportive for your thyroid and bring that back into alignment. So,
right.
So you've been feeling better?
Yeah, and the blood test came back better. So.
Oh, is that right?
Fine. Yeah.
So you went to a doctor after we had started the program.
Yep.
And
so I don't have to take the Synthroid, which is what I did not want to take.
Wow. That is very significant. So it seems tell me
I mean, I'll give you the levels. They're borderline. They're just borderline, but they're not what they were, which when I spoke to you, they were extremely bad.
Right. Mm-hmm. So before you started the program, the nutritional support program that you and I started, the thyroid levels were very, very low according to the blood work.
Yeah, it's dangerously low, right?
Dangerously low. Now, being on the program for a short period of time, and it hasn't been that long, these levels are back up to just about manageable level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations. So that really speaks highly to the effectiveness of this. And
what's nice is it's only like 5 or 4 supplements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's
twice a day.
Right. Very simple. Just before the morning meal and before the evening meal, 4 different supplements, and that's it. So it's really super simple and easy to follow. Yeah. So I'm really happy to hear about your success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Kristen. I appreciate it. So, what else? You had a couple of questions, Kristen, that you mentioned?
Oh, no, we were just talking about, like, what do you eat? I mean, it's so hard to find things to eat that are, like, not healthy. I mean, everything's like, even in Mrs. Green, like, the food is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
And that's, like, the healthiest place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a restaurant you're talking about?
Well, I'm saying like either a Whole Foods or Mrs. Green's. They feel like they're like really oily. The salads are heavy in the dressings.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of processing in a lot of the foods that we eat right now. and it can be really difficult to make food choices. It really can. So, yeah, I'm well aware of that myself, and being able to energy test, muscle test, so to speak, different things going through the supermarket, as we were talking about before we hopped on the call here, that about about a good 90% of the things in the supermarket have additives, have processing, have sugars added, have different things that have gone on. Even if some of the stuff that has been that is organic and is meant to be really healthy, just the processing equipment and the things that go on with it from the time it's harvested till the time it gets to us can affect its quality and can affect the benefit it has to us. So yeah, it's difficult to make really good choices with this because it's hard to know what's out there and what's in these things. So as you know, Kristen, and you guys know, we prepared a list of foods that are good for this particular program. So that makes it a little bit easier to follow. And you know, when you engage, we give you that list, and anybody that needs support, obviously, we're always there for you to continue that support. So yeah, and if anybody has any suggestions about things that they have found that can be beneficial to the other people in the group, that's what we're all here for. So feel free to speak up. Yeah.
I'll add something in, because when it comes to nutrition, there's it's always hard to, to make changes and to adapt. But the longer you go when you make the changes, just experientially, you see that it makes it harder for you to go back to all those things that we consider, were our typical foods. So, it's that happens normally with just any type of diet restriction or anything. But the more, and this is just my experience in general while working with Ron, is that the more you get accustomed to high vibrational foods and things that are better for you, whenever you go out from those foods, and I'm not saying that it's limited, it's just whenever you go out of something that has anything detrimental to you, you're going to feel it right away. And I noticed that a lot when, I think I'm on my 5th month, I think, or 6th month already, almost in this program. And anything that, that you eat, because it has happened to me, when you go to a restaurant or somewhere else and you eat, and you'll immediately feel it in your body, that same day and the days after. So, it's almost like refining, your nutrition in general. And one thing that needs to be said a lot is that we, this is just another thing that comes parallel to this whole learning process, is that we need to stop seeing food as a pleasure and start seeing it as it is, which is just nourishment for the body, and to empower the activities that we have. So, there's a lot to be said there. But once we start seeing food from that angle, to me, it's just a matter of, it's seeking the best food that can support you in your activities. It could be anything. You could be an athlete, or you can just be, an office worker. So you need to eat to support, that. And I realized that, I come from a different background when I started the nutritional alignment program, because I've been into nutrition basically all my life, and I just couldn't find, things. I've tried all kinds of diet approaches and, restrictions here and there, you name it, but nothing resonated as much, with me than just finding those foods that, and it's nothing specific. It's not even a diet. It's just getting used to those items that just make you feel, with energy, because that's the main thing that everybody's lacking right now for good reasons. And, they're not toxic, and they're not contributing to anything bad, that you had in the past. So it's almost like refining, the food and your nutrition to serve you, in the best way, as opposed to just finding pleasure, which, now and then you want to have a little bit of, a treat. But in general, you just want to have good nutrition that supports, your lifestyle.
Thanks, Gabo. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I refer to it as eat for purpose, not for pleasure, or a little of both. Definitely for purpose first. And that's a really good point. Really good point. Thank you.
And listen, I don't want to make it like it, the food that we end up eating is, bland or anything. I mean, I enjoy my food, and I tell that to Julie all the time, my wife, that I enjoy my food like I've never enjoyed anything in the past, because it was almost like it's this reward system, that we entrain, to have when we eat. And now it's just, the pleasure of eating good food. I don't know. It's a difference that I can't really explain. I can't put it into words, but it pays off just to change, to the foods that serve you.
Definitely. Yeah, it sure does. And getting used to being on a diet like that, like you're saying, it really ramps up your vibe, your energy levels, and everything, really, all your mental clarity, all your function, to a degree that's really hard to believe until you're able to achieve it. So
Ron, just to clarify for Lauren, how did you get into this business? Like, what catapulted you to do this?
Thank you. That's a great question. Making a very long story, hopefully a little short. I was in a really bad car accident over 25 years ago. I was hit head on by a truck at over 70 miles an hour, was in the hospital for 3 months. I actually had 2 near-death experiences. I was hit by the truck. Next thing I know, I was looking down at myself, pinned in the car, and the jaws of life were opening up the car. So it was just a really, really tough process of recovery. I was on over a dozen prescription medications, had over 70 surgeries, was in a wheelchair for over 6 years, told I would never walk again. I had spinal cord damage that was only seen in cadavers, things of this nature. And I was continued for over 23 years to be on a dozen different prescription medications, obviously none of which, at least in my experience, were really doing anything substantive to bring me into any state of health or function. So at one point, this was about this was after 23 years of these prescriptions, I was told that I had stage 4 liver damage and 6 to 9 months to live because of all the surgeries and the prescriptions, et cetera. So I finally resigned myself to the fact that I really need to seek out other than, let's say, traditional medicine to heal myself and to bring myself back into alignment. So I sought out naturopathic medicine and holistic and naturals, et cetera. And I was having some good results. I was able to get some limited results. And I also got into energy work. I've been a certified hypnotherapist since I was 17. So it's been well over 35 years now that I've been doing that. And I was able to move energy through my body and starting really focusing on how energy affects everything. And we all know energy is everything. Everything is made of energy. So while I was on my path to trying to find the right nutritional supplementation, and I found a program in Canada where I was working with a master herbalist who would come up with a system of reading the body's bioenergetic information field to determine exactly what you really needed. Because at that time, I had I was on a ton of different supplements. When I first saw this herbalist in Canada, I brought literally a shopping bag full of supplements because I thought my body needed all these different things. I was trying to get off these medications. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications. I was on 100 micrograms of thyroxine myself. And it was just crazy. And so I was taking all these different things thinking it was working. When I got this energy test, this bioenergetic information field reading, I was told that about 90% of the things that I was taking supplement-wise were really super good, high quality, but were really not working for me because my body really required other things, because in order of importance, my body needed to cleanse and repair certain areas, and it only needed the ingredients and support for that. So once I was able to like really focus in and hone in on what I was doing with supplementation and moving energy through my body and learning this new system, I was able to really bring my health back into where I really needed to be, where I was able to perform. I was sleeping better. I had more energy, and much less aches and pains. I was on 5 different narcotic pain medications. I was able to get off of completely. To this day, I have not taken, and I don't need pain medication because I've been able to work with my diet, energy, and these herbal formulas to the point where I don't have the inflammation, I don't have the pain, and I brought my body and all the systems back into alignment to a point where, I'm feeling and functioning much better. So that's basically what the driving force of this all was. It was out of necessity, and I finally found something that really, really worked for me. And I felt like this was something I wanted to study and bring to other people and share my experience with others. So hope that answers that question. It's a long story. Yeah.
Well, it's a good one. It got my attention. So,
thank you, Chris.
yeah, that's great. That's great. You were able to do that. And how does the emotion code work? So it's a machine.
Okay. Just talking about the emotional transmutation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different type of a process that I use to release and transmute trapped emotions that we all have from different emotionally intense situations throughout our lives that get trapped in the muscle, the fascia, in the physical body, and also in the auric light body. These emotions get trapped. And now science is showing, as we all know, Institute of Heart Math has equipment that is showing that these energies do get trapped in our energetic field. So that's another process, a little bit different, but than what I'm talking about with the nutrition, but it still does involve, again, reading the bioenergetic information field to assess and ascertain exactly what emotions are interfering with a person's health, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and just transmuting those emotions. As long as there's there's no lesson in it that the higher self requires, is something that brings us back into alignment as quickly as possible. So, yeah, so it's a little bit different than the nutrition, but it's still, yeah. Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it answered my question, and it released me of a lot of, I was carrying, as you know, a lot of grief and sadness and, which was affecting my appetite.
Right.
So the releasing part of it helped me to focus on my health and to eat better and to take these supplements.
Definitely. Yeah, you're doing spectacularly well, really, really well. So yeah, releasing those emotions. Emotion is the root of a lot of our health issues, as we know, and being able to transmute that in a quick and easy way is something that it can be so super powerful and really liberating. So,
is there anything you recommend for releasing or working with those emotions that we have that we're dealing with? Like, say, if you can recommend any activity, to start.
Yeah, that's a good question. I personally have a morning routine, which, as you guys know, everyone is invited to join me if they want to participate in that, or for demonstration purposes. That I use modified Qigong, a couple of Kundalini Kriyas, and some other basically moving energy movement meditation, which is really the definition of Qigong, to continue to ground energy, to raise our vibration, and just to really bring ourselves into alignment in the multidimensional sense, in the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects. So that's definitely, I feel like, one of the keys to dealing with any situation health-wise, because we are multidimensional beings. So working on an energetic level like that can affect us in all areas of our lives, including the emotional. So it's a good question. It makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
All right.
Can I ask another question?
Please, yeah, that's what we're here for. Appreciate it.
So there's something else that I remember you saying in the past, like there's the toxicity in the food is contributing to a lot of the issues that we have, and it could be, you know, like food that we deem like healthy,
Mhm.
you know, but it's loaded with stuff that we shouldn't be obviously having in our body. Does this thing change per region that you have seen? Like in certain places, there's more of elements that affect certain organs or something else that people should be aware.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I found that to be quite interesting myself as I've been studying this program, this nutrition program, which my studies started in Canada and mainly were up in Canada for a couple of years. And I traveled throughout Canada from the West Coast to the East Coast. And I would find that people in different cities, different areas actually had different levels of toxicity, required different herbal formulas and supplementation, and different programs based on region. And it could even be a couple of 100 miles away. And the herbs that, again, just to remind people, I'm reading the person's bioenergetic information field. So I'm not telling them, suggesting to them what they need, but I'm asking their body what it's requesting. And each and every one of these areas was uniquely different in what these people's bodies on them, for about 80% of them, was requiring and requesting. So that's a really amazing question. I found it fascinating that the water in certain areas, in different areas, any area, the water, the air, and it can be, you know, affected by industry, even though we may not be completely aware of it. The air, the environment, the electromagnetic toxicity of an area, also the population density, and something I say about, maybe if you want to think about thought pollution, Bruce Lipton is big on 60,000 errant thoughts or unnecessary thoughts a day. When you're in a more compact area, there's more of that. You know, everything is energy. So if we have a lot of that going on, so I found that to be true as well. So it is very interesting the way that works. So yeah, and it requires different ways of dealing with that to bring people into alignment.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And here in the States, a lot more than the work I've done in Canada, people have a lot of issues with their pancreas. And that seems to be, from the people I'm working with here and in Canada, because of the prevalence and the early introduction of high fructose corn syrup into our diets here. And it's extremely damaging to the body. It's not a natural thing. It has been linked to different things. Again, I'm not a doctor, but these things seem to correlate with people who are eating a lot of sweets, a lot of refined sugars as well, which is now, as we know, genetically modified, and the way it affects the body and pancreas especially. And we know about the epidemic of diabetes and blood sugar issues. It seems the people in the States are much more affected in that area than in other places. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, but it can be dealt with. So it can be dealt with, and support nutritionally and through these herbs, which is basic, as you guys know, really based on frequency and information, and delivering just the right energy to the body in the right places at the right time, can really bring us back right where we need to be very quickly. So these problems can be solved.
What about in terms of food? I know there are certain foods that because of the way they bring them to the U.S. at least here,
Huh?
um, some foods are not the same as from where they come from because of the way they harvest it and they transport it. Do you have any list of foods that you know it's like it's already you already know that have? I know bananas is one of them. That and it keeps coming up even outside of our field. Like I hear people talk about it too now a lot. Is there
Good.
anything else that you feel like it's important to keep an eye on?
Definitely. I'm glad you asked that. Um, some some news that I'm not too happy about. But before I get to that, I would like to say for anybody else who's watching for the first time, the reason that bananas are really something for just about every single person to avoid is because they are placed, from what we're told, in cold storage when they're being transported, and they are treated with, or can be, let me say, treated with a chemical to initiate the ripening process after they're placed in cold storage. So that chemical is leaching itself into the banana, and this is what I've been told by several people who do the transportation, who have these work with these companies. And I know because of my energy testing that bananas, I have not tested a single person that can tolerate bananas anymore because
Oh,
whatever reason, I'll just say it that way. And the cold storage issue is likely what it's linked to. Now, what I was saying was the bad news for me and many other people is that they have begun recently to do this now with avocados.
oh
And
God.
some of us may be finding that when you go to the supermarket, you're seeing avocados that are really hard. They're not ripe yet, but they're already brown. And it's like that was not the case a year ago, even 6 months ago. And what I'm being told from people who are doing the transportation, et cetera, is that they also are being put in cold storage, meaning temperatures just above freezing to hold them in a state of, so they don't ripen. And then when they're shipped, there's a possibility, let's say, that there are some accelerants to get them back into ripeness. But a lot of people I know, including myself, are finding that we're cutting these things open and there's brown streaks through them, or they're rotten inside the avocados. And there's a lot more evidence that this is going on. So it's something to be aware of, and it's unfortunate. But the energy testing is also showing now the increased incidence of people having some sort of irritation and reaction to avocados now where they never did before.
Wow.
Unfortunate.
That's a bummer.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like about,
Yeah. Who doesn't?
yeah, at least one or two avocados a day.
Ooh.
Gotta have some avocado.
Yeah.
Mhm. So that's a good question. Thanks for bringing that up, Jaco.
Any other food? What about apples? I've heard something about apples.
I have not, when I do the energy testing for people, I don't often find, at least up until recently, that there's a request by many people's body to avoid apples, at least not yet. So we know that they're not picked when they're ripe, as like with most fruits and vegetables. But I have not found anything personally just yet. But I would share that with you guys when and if I do. What have you heard?
I heard once that they add some coating to it when they ship them from other countries. So it's just to keep the outside, obviously, looking pretty and everything. But that coating of whatever it is, it's like a resin or something. If you boil it or just for an experiment, you can see all that come out. It's like a waxy thing.
Yeah, Yeah, I have heard about that as well. I have heard about that.
Yeah, I was wondering how detrimental that might be because I mean, if you wash it and then you eat it, you're eating the whole thing because it's in
Right,
the nobody peels. Well, I don't know anybody who peels an apple, but
right,
it's still, I
right.
mean, it's something foreign there.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not aware exactly what the situation is with that on an individual
Yeah.
basis. But yeah, I have heard the same exact thing. So it's not something that's natural.
Can you use can you use a nutrition program to test, say for example, like how it, if any pesticides are affecting you, or if like I messaged you the other day about like chlorine or my tap water is affecting me. So you
Yes.
can use use the testing to test
And
those kinds of things.
yes, absolutely. As you know, I can test your water from a distance. It sounds a little spooky to some people, but as you know, Caleb, we've had this experience. All of us have had this experience, the four of us, where we're able to tell if water is good for you and what the overall not what each individual component is, but overall how good it is for us. And oftentimes when we've double checked with these different things, we've seen that the waters that contain a lot of chlorine, fluoride, etc., obviously do not test well. And we discussed last week about different water companies processing water in a different way, that even spring water can come up as not completely, totally beneficial for us. So it's always best to check that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of water, I want the nerdy side because you know me, but I want the nerdy side of the some of the recommendations you have with like fulvic acid and
Yeah.
other like ocean minerals and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I mean I can speculate how much you know that's beneficial, but I want to hear your take on it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I recommend, highly recommend, and for myself, the Omica Organics Shilajit, it's called, where it is it's a fulvic and humic acid mineral supplement that has been mined basically from multiple 100 million-year-old deposits from ancient seabeds that contains a mineral profile that is exactly in the same proportions as the mineral profile necessary for our body. So it contains trace minerals, all the minerals that we need in exact proportions. And it's paired with humic and fulvic acid, which allows the body to assimilate it, and also for these minerals to be able to penetrate cell walls. So it's really, I call it my voltage drink. A little bit of that Shilajit and a little bit of water, and it's just fantastic. It's really good.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
feel like in a way, and it's the way we have our food supplied and water and everything is very distorted of how it should be. And what you're doing is like picking all those little things that are in a way bringing back the normality of how you know we should be eating and drinking, because when you talk about specifically the minerals and how they're harvested, you know, from different places like the shilajit and you know the fulvic acid is like the most natural, and it's not even natural, then the word doesn't you know make honor to it, but it's just it's not the same as you know minerals that have been synthesized in a laboratory. I mean,
Right.
there's a huge difference there. So it's like picking, you know, whatever is possible that it's, and the harvesting is also another thing that's important, right? It's not just the substance itself.
Exactly. Really good question there as well. There are other humic acid and fulvic acid mineral supplements that are extracted using hexane and methane. And this one in particular that I recommend and I stand behind, that I use myself, is has a a specialized water extraction method so that there was no contamination or residues in the actual substance. So it's one of the only ones, it is the only one that I recommend and use myself. So it's a great question about that.
Yeah. Do they do that to extract like more, I guess, the other method?
Yeah, it's much less expensive.
Oh,
That
that
way.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's faster and less expensive, but it does leave residue and
Right.
does not test well. When I energetically test it, these other extraction method product from these other extraction methods, they do not test well.
Yeah, it's like it's tainted.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
exactly. So that's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you for answering it.
Where do you get that?
I can shoot you a link. It's Omega Organics. I'll send you a link, and I have a coupon code for 10% off if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you like attach it to your faucet or something, or?
Oh no, this is a mineral supplement.
Oh,
You just add to a little bit of water, about a quarter, 3/8 of a teaspoon to a little bit of water, and it's a mineral supplement that is just the very best that you
okay.
can find. And it's a full range, full spectrum of minerals.
And you add it to like what kind of water?
Just your regular drinking water. Just a little cup. It's like a little dose, like a couple of ounces. You mix it in a couple of ounces of water and drink it, and that's it. So it's like a little bit of a supplement.
Okay.
Yep. So I can send you the link and the
Because
coupon.
I don't drink, like, I'm very funny with the water now. I'll only drink certain kinds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't drink, I don't even drink Poland Springs.
Right. As you know, the distilled Poland Spring is actually what I use, and I add a fulvic acid mineral drops to it. What we're talking about here, the Shilajit, is a mineral supplement that's separate from that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
you just add that to the water.
yes, the distilled water.
Yeah.
So as a drinking water, right?
Distilled
that-
water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I have a link to that as well if you're interested in that, and some instructions.
Yeah.
It just takes about 8 or 9 drops to add to distilled water to bring it into a living water, basically, because it's replacing, again, the perfect profile of minerals that's required to bring it basically into a living water situation where it mimics exactly what spring water would be.
Maybe we should all just move to the blue zone.
We could do that. Okay. That might be a good idea.
I'm in.
Right. Me too. Me too.
Maybe we should just all go to Sardinia together.
That sounds great. That sounds great. All right. So I'll send you those links, Kristen.
Okay, great.
Yep, and the instructions for that too. And if anyone else is interested, they could just put their email in.
Okay,
I could also or just make a request, and I could do that for them too.
okay.
Sure. All right. Thanks. How you doing today, Caleb?
Oh, I'm good. I did a lot today. I'm kind of tired, but I'm
Okay.
good.
Good.
I'm
Thanks.
sitting outside of Whole Foods. I'm about to get some food after this.
All right. Thanks for joining us on the call. All right.
Of course.
So any other questions? Anything else anyone needs some support with, or anything at all?
Yes, I'll ask this because it has happened a couple of times, and it's just probably a silly question, but say you miss because you miss your night capsules. You know, you just miss the night dose. Do you compensate the next day? Do you leave it? Say you miss a couple of days because you travel, you didn't have them. How do you go back? And is there like a limit time that you should, go back to, like maybe one, a day? Does that make sense?
It does, and that's a great question. I don't typically recommend like doubling up to make up for something that was missed, but you can, if you're in a really difficult situation timing wise, and you know that there's going to be difficulty in splitting the dose up where you're able to take, some people, it's easier to take it in the morning than to take it in the morning and the evening. I will suggest, and sometimes I do this when I'm traveling and I know that's going to be difficult, I'll take both doses of herbs in the morning. I don't recommend it all the time, but it's better than missing. If you know you're going to miss the second dose, at least you have it in your system and it's working for you. So that's one suggestion. Again, I don't recommend it all the time, but better off that than not. And as far as the going, like dropping it back down to like what we do with the first week when we're first beginning the program, we begin with half the recommended or suggested dose. I don't feel that there's a need to go back to that, even if you do miss a few days. So just to keep up with just catch up with wherever you were at and get back on track as quickly as you can. So that's basically, yeah. Thanks for asking. Never any silly questions. So I appreciate that, Gabo.
Yeah, no, I needed to know that. I had another question, but I got to recover it. I don't know where it went, but it had to do with I forgot. We'll come back.
All right, great. So anyone else? No? Okay.
Does it so when you do, cause I just recently started this program. So
Right.
say like so eventually I'll start like moving past the detox stage and then getting into like repairing,
Yes.
like herbs will be switched and stuff.
Yes, yes. What the first stage is basically detox, and as we know, the body works just like the seasons in cycles of 3 months. So the way the program is designed is where when I'm reading the bioenergetic field, we're testing to see what the body requires for the first initial phase of cleanse and detox. And there is some repair going on as well in there. So at the end of this 3-month cycle, we move into a new phase where we get tested again. We reevaluate where the body is at, and it also tells us what it needs at that point to bring it into more repair and upgrade phase. So yes, at the end of 3 months, it's amazing the way the body actually requests different formulas and is able to also to accept and utilize different nutritional supplements as well. So a lot.
Wow, you've seen that a lot?
Absolutely, it's been fascinating. Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things that really convinced me how unique this program is, in that it's more about giving the body what it needs, exactly what it needs, no more, no less, at exactly the right time for it to bring itself back into alignment as quickly as possible. So it's one of the things that really convinced me that this was reading exactly what our body really does need. So it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that.
Thank you.
So yeah. And we've been finding, and there's more and more research as well coming up, that is showing that because of the environmental stresses that we're under, that our bodies are really, when we first begin a program, are more really requesting a detox and cleansing than supplementation with this, and this. The first and foremost, what the body really requires in most instances is a detox and cleanse. And it doesn't necessarily mean a liver one particular detox or another, but the beauty of this system is that I'm able to read the field and let you know exactly what your body needs to detox and cleanse first to bring everything back into alignment. And as we know, these systems, the symptoms go away when you get down to the root cause. So it's been really effective.
I got my question back, if you don't mind me.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So you usually take, your your capsules when you eat, right, in the morning. But sometimes, is there a specific combination of food in terms of, say, you want to have a little bit of protein, fats, and carbohydrates, something like that? The reason why I ask is because I'm never hungry in the morning, so what I do is just have like a protein shake, and it's just plain protein. So sometimes I don't know if I should have something else, a little bit of, fats. I know some supplements are soluble in fat, so.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else?
That's a great question. Also, I feel like as long as you're eating something that will stimulate the digestive enzymes to begin to break down the formulas, that's adequate, and that'll be just fine. So it doesn't need to be anything specific. It's just super simple. It's more about the energy and frequency of the herbs and the information that's packed in them, basically, than it is the different formulations. And it's all really extracts of superfoods and different things that are really super simple, but combined in a way that is, again, harmonically balanced and all based on frequency. So what you eat with them, as long as it's good for you, and as long as we've done the testing and it's in alignment with what your body is requiring, doesn't matter if it's protein or carbs or different things like that. But that's a really excellent question.
Cool. See, I've been making that mistake of just waiting until a little bit later when I eat, more, I guess, whole food or complete food as opposed to just a protein shake.
Right. And you can, even if you just have a little something to nibble on, just to begin getting the digestive enzymes flowing while you're taking the herbs, that's fine. That's perfectly enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So Ron, my question for you is, are we going to do a retesting to see where I'm at?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that at 6 weeks, and we can do that again at 12 weeks.
Okay.
However you prefer to do that. But
Okay.
absolutely, yeah, with whatever you have going on, if you prefer to know where we stand. And having those blood tests is really amazing.
Yeah, I have those. So we'll go over those.
That would be fantastic.
Okay.
And that's a tremendous testimonial to the effectiveness of this and how the greater intelligence of our body really, when given the right conditions and the right formulations,
Yeah.
bring itself back into alignment. Yeah, that's fantastic.
No, it's no easy gig living here, is it?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But we have the solutions. We have the ways of dealing with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if, like Caleb said, like if I see a food when I'm out and I'm wondering, oh, is this good for me? I can just snapshot it to you and send it to you. And
That's
you
right.
can test it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. You can just text it over.
Okay. So good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So
And
I can annoy you all day long. I didn't know
that's
that.
right. Oh, I can't wait. That'll be great. Anytime, anything you need, I'm always here for you.
Okay.
For that. Yeah. All of you, you know that. So yeah. That's great. All right.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was very informative. I know it's 8 o'clock now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren, for coming on the call.
Yes, Lauren, thanks for being here. Thank you all for being here. We'll close up now. And next week, anybody else you know who might be interested, we're going to keep this going every Monday night at 7 Eastern. So if there's anyone else who might be interested, has any questions, if you guys want to bring any other questions or information that we could share to better the experience, I really appreciate it.
Great. All right. And I'll text you separately, Ron.
Terrific.
Okay.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right. Bye, Caleb. Bye, Gabriel.
Okay.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye,
Okay.
Kristen. Bye, Lauren.
All right.
Bye, Caleb.
Have a great week, everyone.
Okay.
I'm always here for you. Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.